Hello and welcome to the Human Side of Real Estate. My name is Mark Toomey. I'm managing partner of Tata HRC, which is a boutique real estate headhunting company based in Warsaw, Poland. My guest today is Tatiana Spencer, who is, I suppose, a true trailblazer in the Polish real estate market with a career spanning back more than 2 decades. She's been an inspiring figure for many. Her career began in 1998, I think is correct, with Jones Lang LaSalle, eventually growing to head of retail, moved to King Sturge as a director, and then went on to found her own successful boutique brokerage, Aspen, in 2011. So Tatiana has advised prominent clients like IKEA, Carrefour, and worked on landmark projects such as Galeria Mokotów and Wola Park. As one of the first senior women to make a significant impact on the Polish real estate market and a pioneer in launching her own agency, I'm very kind of curious to have this chat with you today. We've been talking about it for a long time. So welcome, Tatiana. Great to see you.
Mark, thank you very much for such an introduction. I feel really honored. So I'm happy to talk about myself and all the topics which we'd like to share with our audience later.
No, there definitely will be, I think, a lot of interest in this because, you know, it is an honor to have you here, and because your career has been both long and impactful. And I remember when I came here in 2006 first, there were not really that many women in senior positions in real estate in Poland. And you were probably one of the few, and I think probably one of the best known names at that time as a senior female figure in Polish real estate. So that's going back almost 20 years now. But so that's obviously that status has changed a lot over the 20 years. And I think, you know, you have a unique view because you've been there from almost day one, from ground zero. You've watched all of this grow, not just the industry, not just the market, but the people within it grow as well. So it's a very unique perspective that you have. So I'm just, you know, I think particularly in the last 10 years, say, for example, we've seen a big increase in the number of women growing into senior roles within the real estate community, the real estate industry, which has, I suppose, traditionally been, you know, more known as an old boys club. But that mold has been broken, particularly in the last 10 years. So I'm very curious to know from your perspective, you know, what you think has driven the notable rise in women ascending to senior positions within the real estate industry over the last decade. And, you know, what are the key factors behind more women stepping into leadership roles?
Yes, that's correct. And maybe to answer this question, I will go back a little more, like after I graduated and then I was looking for a job. And I have to say that I happened to be that I was in the right time and in the right place. There were a lot of changes in our country. The country was starting right now to develop. Lots of people from abroad, expats, were coming into our country, into Poland, with their knowledge, experience. And I was one of this first group of people which happened that were lucky to get a job in the multinational, international company and learn a lot. So I started my experience with the real estate in 1998. However, before I also worked for a German company, did some first development of the like a big box shopping center. But then with Jones Lang Wootton that time, we started to do retail in Poland. It seems to be the subject is so nice and like creative, etc. But of course, it wasn't so well-known subject that time, and I needed to learn a lot. And in order to this, I was invited to our head office in London, which was a great experience for me. And I was always thinking, why in London there is no women in the senior position? It was just men, only women I've seen, they were secretaries or like supporting staff. So I thought we have to change this, but also I asked why it happens like this. And what I've learned, it was because women very often, when they get married, have children, they leave their job and they stay at home because they don't need to work. That's, of course, it's an economical situation in the UK is and was much better that time, so they didn't have to work. Of course, some of them, they were back and they were at the senior position, but not that many. So when I was in Poland, I thought, why don't we change this? And I had a couple of years of experience as the agent, but when I was promoted in early year 2000, most of my team were women. And I'm not saying this that I favorize, no, because for me, people are equal. So what I look, these are skills, involvement, education, experience. However, that time we couldn't find people with a lot of experience, so we were looking mainly on the person skills and willingness to develop. And I have to say that women are in Poland, they are very well educated. They have very good organizational skills. They are motivated. And economics, that time especially, they were not good enough to, like, if you have family and children, you leave the job and you stay at home. So in some cases, it was a must to come back and work, because two people cannot really support family. I mean, they could, but still it wasn't so obvious that you leave your job and you stay at home.
It's interesting. Sorry, it's interesting the parallels you made when you started in the industry, and then you went to London and you looked around the office in London and you seen, they were all male figures, particularly.
Absolutely,
I had Jason on this podcast, your old boss colleague, Jason Sherman, on a couple of months ago, and he talked about when he came to Poland first, and we discussed about. He was saying about King Sturge, he was saying, they like to boast they're a 200-year-old company. And so what I'm saying is the in the UK, there tends to be like, an old boys club attitude towards it. And it kind of tended to be very male driven and male dominated. And the place for doing deals wasn't the place for women, and going back. But when you come to Poland, post-communism, early 90s or mid 90s, I guess it like you said, there weren't many people with commercial real estate experience, full stop.
Yeah.
Not men or women. So it was almost like a carte blanche situation. It was kind of like, well, okay, let's pluck out these bright people from economics universities or whatever, and then we teach them real estate.
Exactly, that's what we're doing. We're teaching them real estate. I was taught by my bosses, by my colleagues in London, and I could forward this knowledge to people we selected for the job. And like you say, it was like we were looking through students. My students just graduated, people with no experience, but they had other skills, and we could teach them the job. So it was easy at that time. Some people stayed and grew, some people left. So I have to say that real estate is a very, let's say, relationship business. Like, you have to have certain people from the field. So it's a lot of going out. So you have to meet people, talk to people. So you gain knowledge by talking to the group of people. And so if you don't like this, it's difficult to succeed. And like we were discussing women position in real estate, some of them are not interested in going for a beer after work, etc. But I had great working environment with Jones Lang Wootton and King Sturge. We had these Fridays, or rather Thursdays, the Thursdays when we're going out for a drink, or even like doing business over lunch or something, because this is a bit of different to like sitting in the office and being accountant. You finish your day and you go home. In real estate, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's but that social element of it is changing now as well with the younger generation, and I don't think they're as keen to go to the events and go to the after party or the parties, the corporate parties now. But so that's another
That's another
another whole topic. Let's kind of look at particularly like the last, say, 10 years, because I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's when, so what are we now, 2025? So 2015, let's start there.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of women rise up to CEO positions within Poland.
Yes.
So what do you think happened there? What kicked that off in 2015 or around that time to encourage so many companies to promote women into senior positions? Like what?
I don't know what other companies, what criteria they have, but I was working always with more women than men, and I think they just good. They good in what they're doing. They, as I mentioned, very well educated. Right now, especially, they're very qualified, so they already learn a lot. They have experience, years of experience by now, so they are being promoted, and I personally work with lots of women which they were starting together with me or after me, and they are very successful. Very successful. Most of them still in the business. So I would say it's no difference, men or women. It's just the qualifications matter and the experience and what they can bring to the business.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, and like one area. Let's just pick, say, retail. Say, for example,
Yes, mm-hmm.
There is, and I think for as long as I've been here, at least, and maybe it's always been this way, there's been a disproportionately larger number of women working in retail than men, and I think it's women feel better working with maybe some of the fashion retailers, particularly female fashion retailers. So I think a lot of women have started from those places. Where they were in like yourself in a retail division of a large corporate. And obviously learning about the market, learning about what international retailers want, being able to bring that into the Polish market. I'm sure there are men in retail who
absolutely, many of them, and they are very good as well. Yes,
and many of them have probably leased many lingerie stores.
Yes.
But there is a certain kind of female element to retail that does appeal.
Yes. Retail is fun, and like you mentioned, it's. I really enjoyed working with retailers, learning about brands, because obviously when I was starting, we didn't have all of these brands like we have now. Trying to understand what's like the basic brands, like cheaper brands, like mid-market brands, bigger, smaller, luxury brands, how they can be. This is like puzzles sometimes. If you learn putting them right in the shopping center, it's basically copy-paste for later, but still you have to have this sense that trends are changing, the supermarkets are shrinking, growing, or the cinemas are in or out, the food section now is getting bigger or was getting smaller. So depends on the trends, or we create also these trends together with the final clients of shopping centers. So for me, it was really great job. Now we don't do such a big scale shopping centers anymore. They are we more concentrate on smaller formats, but there is lots of repositioning as well. So there are lots of changes in the shopping centers because they are still being upgraded, repositioned, changed to the customers' needs. So I think playing with retailers, with the brands, trying to fit them in the right place in shopping center, it's been really fantastic job, and you meet people and you learn from them as well, not only about the brand but about the history of the brand, about many interesting factors. And I think women are great in this. And sometimes they have more feeling than men, but I've been working with really great men, which, like you mentioned, they've done lots of deal with the lingerie stores. Yeah. Yes.
But I think something else now. Now I'm trying not to generalize here too much, but if you look at some of the backgrounds that some of the senior female figures in real estate have come from, and I've I've had a look at this, and I've kind of reached this conclusion, and I could be way off, but what I found is men tend to be attracted to more transaction-driven roles, because obviously the bonuses are bigger and the cash is bigger, yes, and all of that, and it's fast, and it's it gets the dopamine flowing and all this.
Yes.
So, but what I have noticed is that a lot of women tend to be senior women tend to come from a more, I suppose, operational management, administration, asset management type of function, where they're very much responsible for the safeguarding of the operations of the business and the stability of the business. And I see a lot of women have kind of come through that side of things up into senior positions, and it is just that consistency, reliability, whereas men kind of tend to be a little bit more I wouldn't say unreliable is the wrong word, but a little bit more flash, and a little more chasing the shiny things, whereas the women kind of tend to be that stable hand. And I think, so as I said, when I look at some of the senior women in senior positions today, it's no surprise that they come from a background where they have been operations management and team management, and either CEO or COO or asset management, or property management, and just managing those large teams of many moving parts, which I think generally women are just better at doing anyway.
Yes.
So I guess a combination of things, we talked about, we said we're trying to explore why, particularly in the last 10 years, there's been such a rise of women, and I just think generationally, societally,
I think that's the generation. They managed to get right qualifications, and they've been out in the market, and they've been already having lots of experience behind them, and working years in the business. So that was a time to start promoting them at the position, and there is nothing strange about this, in my opinion, and I'm happy. I know a lot of women also in the transaction side of business. I was always I was having a few secretaries in Jones Lang, or even in my own company now, and I always saying, like, you are too good to stay long, because you see the potential of the person, and then this person rise up very quickly. So and then you are proud because it's like your child who is growing and like learn from you, and of course learn, but also processed herself or himself, and then you see how nice career they are having. So
and that's like, perfect, because I also wanted to talk to you about the decision to transition from the corporate environment into running your own business, and you made that exact move yourself, I think in 2011.
Yes,
was that correct? Founding Aspen after a very successful corporate career. So what motivated you to leave the corporate world and embark on your own entrepreneurial journey? And at that time, what was the vision that you had for Aspen when you started?
Yes, okay. So that was again the right time maybe for some changes, and Kingsearch like disappeared from the market because Jones Lang LaSalle bought Kingsearch. So I thought maybe that's a time to change. Maybe I wanted to go back to Jones Lang, but I was also ready for something different. I wanted to control my destiny. That's a very nice expression to say. And together with Agnieszka Michalczewska, who is my partner until today, we had clients who were even supporting our decision and like saying, don't go there, just keep us, we want to work with you. And we said, okay, let's give it a try. And I remember how exciting it was time. We were building our pipelines, then we were building our website, looking for the office. Of course, it's like not everybody can say, and okay, I do my own business, because you need to be prepared. And I think every corporation gives you very good basis, because you know certain procedures, you know even how to draft a proper email, like something which you have to learn. And then with this basis, plus knowing the business, plus having some strategy and luck, you can set your own business. And that's what we decided. So we started with 2 clients. Very quickly it was more clients. We rented a small office, and we had 3 people working for us, including 1 secretary. And it was great time. Then we changed for a little bit bigger office, and we had more people. And as I can say now, we had only, because in Kingsearch and Jones Lang LaSalle, it was like I always had more women than men working, while in Aspen there was only 1 man working for us at the beginning. It was Jacek. Jacek, if you will be listening to this, hello. And then we had only women, and we were happy. They were very motivated. We set up right structure of the payment. Of course, there was like better times and worse times, but like for us, our business was always like people first. If we didn't make money, it doesn't matter, but we had to pay people, the bills. And we were working on a few big projects that time. So, it's like money doesn't come immediately. So we just with making these small deals, getting thing together, building up. And then a couple of openings. And finally, we could say that we made it. And the business was good. Then when pandemic came, so basically it was tough times for us. Yes. So we had to limit the people, but we're trying to put them in the right places, help them. So it was, yes, a little bit decreased our market share. But also on the other hand, I always say this was a great time for the family. Yeah. We were locked at home and we're still working, but I had kids, my husband who was traveling all the time, and I was like, oh my God, finally we are together. We could play ping pong, we could eat together. I couldn't complain. We didn't make money that times in our business, but then again, people remembered the few phone calls. And again, it's like sometimes you shouldn't give up, because it's like economy, like a circle. Sometimes you are up, sometimes you are down.
But let's kind of go back again to like when you started Aspen, say, you know, and even when you were in the process of starting, say 2010 and 2010, 2011, and at that time, I don't remember there being very many local commercial brokers at that time. So you were probably one of the first to break away from the corporate guys, CBRE's, JLL's, Cushman's, King Sturge at the time. So you were probably one of the first to set up a rival local agency. So that must have been really interesting as well, because you must have been terrified, thinking, "Oh, we're never going to win the business from these big guys." You know, it's so. How was that?
It was a bit, let's say, scary, because we were a competition, but not such a big competition. But to be honest, it was our advantage. We always called Aspen boutique company, that we put our personal touch to the service, that we don't do business in scale, but we do business in quality. It was very important for us that every client, and I had clients, like for instance from Israel, they called me on Sunday and I answered the phone, because probably if I was working in the corporate business, I wouldn't. But this was my business, so I was available. But of course, later I had to put the borders, like because people, they were calling different times. But what I wanted to say, we were working also with the big agencies as co-agents. So it didn't disqualify us of getting like good business. And sometimes, because I understand the clients, they probably need a big corporate name for credibility, and Aspen was a known company then. So it's good to take a good name and someone who will work harder to get the name recognized in the future. And such a duets were fine, and we were doing business with other big companies, and I couldn't complain.
You know, and like you said, and something you mentioned earlier on as well is you know, when you work with clients, and regardless of where you work, and I've seen this happen before, is if you develop that relationship with them and that close contact with them, it doesn't matter where you go, whether you change the color of your business card or whether it's your own business, those clients want to work with you.
Yes.
And they don't really care what logo was over your door. You know, it's
yeah, it was nice that people called, that people said, I want to work with you, or what are you doing? I have something to do, maybe this, maybe that. And yes, it was nice that the people were coming back. And after some time, when Aspen became more recognizable, we had always, you know, somebody calling, asking for doing business together.
Yeah. And it reminds me of, like, a couple of months ago, I had a lunch with a friend of mine, a female friend, and she's worked for many years in commercial agency and real estate. And she has recently, similar to you, set up her own boutique brokerage. Maybe I'll introduce you to her after this, because it might be some connections there. But what was really interesting is when I was having the lunch with her, and I was saying, okay, well, you know, what were the decisions for you to set up your own business at this time? And one of the things that she said, and you mentioned this earlier on, is she wanted to have more control over her own destiny. And I thought, well, what does that mean? You know, and I think what you know, and I compare this to, and I've seen over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe since COVID particularly, more and more senior agency people break away from the corporate world to start their own boutique agencies, and you've noticed it as well. There's been a lot of them, and you know, and it made me wonder, you know, are we witnessing a broader shift in mindset, and is there a growing sense that trust in the corporate environment has been compromised, perhaps due to the intense focus on bottom line results, and people just don't feel safe in corporate environments, and therefore that is driving them to take control of their own destiny.
Yes, I agree. And corporate business is a pressure. It's a lot of pressure. And I was feeling this being in different companies before. At the end, it's like a year-end results. It's either profit or loss. So it's up to you. If you do the business, if you bring the money, you fine, you get bonuses. But at some point, if the year is worse and the company needs to do reduction, there is no feelings. It's like you are going because we need to cut the cost, and it happened over years. Even I had to fire people, and it's always sad because you don't want to do this, because at some point you work with these people, you like them, you feel somehow attached, and then we have to say goodbye. So people are choosing to control their own destiny because they have enough experience, they have some savings, they are brave to start something on their own. And if we look at big names, at some point in the past, they were also one or two people companies, but they just grow so big and they became public. And so I always say it's good to have the basis, but then you do your business, because then you work for yourself. You work how you want with people you want, because you choose your client, while in the corporation you don't choose your clients, because you are given clients by your bosses. And if you do the business under your name, you really like keep the business. You do your best. I mean, to have this client recommending you another client and another client, because it's important, and you have to be fair with your clients, and you have to deliver. If something goes wrong, you rather say earlier than later. Different things happen. Sometimes you don't achieve your goals also being on your own, but then it's your loss, and you have to, let's say, somehow deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, and I think even some of the agencies that are still international agencies, but maybe not one of the big four corporates, and you can even see those guys kind of growing in numbers as well, and you can see people drifting from some of the bigger corporates to some of the smaller European international, let's call them that, agents, where they feel that they have more input into what goes on locally, and the local decisions are not impacted as much from, say, somewhere Dallas saying we need to cut numbers by 20%. So they're more local decisions, and they also still have the advantage of having a strong brand, an established brand, and that as well. No, it is a really interesting one, and as I said, I have noticed it over the last particularly kind of 5 years. I think COVID has played into it a part as well, when some people, and simply because of the slash and burn policy that some companies introduced during COVID or after COVID. I think, as we discussed during COVID, it was really difficult to fire anybody during COVID, because you would have been viewed as the bad guy. If you fired somebody during this terrible time, when they couldn't find any other work. But what I have noticed is, I think even the last 18 months, I think it's been pretty brutal out there in terms of the firings that we've seen or the reductions in both teams and senior individuals on the real estate market. Because I think we kind of come out of the COVID period, and then companies start saying, okay, now we can start looking at restructuring, because we're not in an emergency period. We're in regular times now. We can restructure, and now we won't have social media on our case if we fire 100 people. So I think particularly in the last 18 months. And we've seen it here in Poland. We've seen a lot of people, a lot of senior people lose their positions by no fault of their own, simply because the company's strategy has changed. And I think obviously the war in Ukraine has
that's impacted a lot also.
That's impacted a lot as well, because that has impacted the level of investment that comes into Poland, particularly from Asia.
Yeah.
Now that may change in the future, but as a result of that, we've seen a lot of funds in particular back away from Central Europe.
Yeah, and putting things on hold until situation gets better. Yeah.
So it's it is a tough time, I think, out there for people. And as I said, there's been people who've come on this podcast with me and we've talked about their careers and they found themselves in a very difficult position some months later. And that's hard,
but such a situation also create opportunity for these people.
Yeah, of course.
You sometimes even didn't think that maybe, I have my own business, but life doesn't give you choice, and then you have your own business, and you are successful or you are not successful. Yeah. You may be staying in the business or changing everything, changing your qualification and doing something completely different.
And I think as well, just going back to that, controlling your own destiny, and it's really interesting. And after 20 years of running my own business, I could never see myself going back into the corporate world. I don't think they'd accept me anyway. But but coming back to controlling your own destiny, and it really is controlling your own destiny, because if you have enough experience and you have enough contacts and relationships in the market, you really do have a large say in your income levels, and how much you earn and the clients that you work with and the way that you work. So I think that's become very appealing for people as well, particularly people who have an established network and who have an established relationships and reputation. They now feel that, okay, now I can control my own destiny better. I can control my own income. I don't have to rely on anybody else, So there is, and it's interesting. Like I'm also kind of curious to see over the next 10 years how that's going to fracture even more, or how the market is going to look in 10 years' time, particularly from the agency world.
Yeah, I'm very curious too, because we have something which will definitely impact the market, which is AI.
Yeah.
I don't know how this will be incorporated into agency business, because in lots of other procedures, yes, but I still think this like a personal business between people cannot be replaced by AI. So
no, definitely not. But definitely, there is. I think anybody who is who's working in a job where their tasks can be automated, I think AI will definitely take over an element of that, but AI can't build relationships.
Exactly.
So there will always be that need for the personal relationship builder.
Absolutely.
So that can never be replaced. And it was interesting. I was reading something recent, and they were saying that like it was a kind of a sympathy article towards kids in college today, and they're saying a lot of kids in college today, particularly anybody doing like finance or tax or anything like this, and or even law. Saying a lot of kids are studying today for jobs that won't exist in the future. Which is a bit sad. But anyway, but let's try and look ahead positively. So I'm kind of curious now, because obviously many people will know your husband, and there's a lot of changes going on in your life right now, and so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the future, kind of looking. And we talked about maybe the next 10 years, like. what do you see for yourself with Aspen? Are you looking for a more balanced lifestyle? Are you looking to kind of delegate more responsibilities, or maybe a new challenge that would energize you? What's your
Yes,
what's your thoughts over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I just want to say first, relating to Aspen and my change, that's very important. That my husband was very supportive in this, and he was always supportive in me. And I think that's also important factor in the relationship, that both partners need to understand some expectations from each other, but also be supportive in their own independent work. So that's very important. And now, looking to the future, I hope we will have more time to spend together, because Otis is also looking into, not also, but is looking into retirement. I still have more years, but I don't want to retire yet.
It's a very important fact to make.
yes, because I am too young and I have too much, energy to just do the gardening. But I definitely want to do some more traveling, trying food of different countries, and we do it, of course, now, but that's my private aspiration. As for the company, I don't want to turn Aspen into corporations, so we will keep the small profile and we will keep serving the right clients. So I like it, and I keep looking for more work. I'm happy to,
So do you think over the next couple of years you'll still, even now that Otis has a bit more time for travel, that you guys would, do you think with Aspen, do you think you will continue to be as involved as you are today, or will you start kind of handing over more kind of responsibilities to the team there?
I think I can be involved as I am now, because with the modern world and working, from different places on the earth, it's possible. Sometimes I do things which I really need just my computer on, like if it's a market research or something, because that's also what I do. So I don't mind doing this sometimes, sitting and looking at the sea, and so I don't mind this. So yeah,
it's both. I notice it as well. It's both a blessing and a curse having your own business, and when we talk about taking the time away for yourself, because as being a business owner, and you mentioned you take, somebody might call you on Sunday, and you will take that call. That's being the owner of a small business, and like myself, it is that case. And we were going for holidays this summer, and I was packing the bag, and I was putting my laptop into the bag, and my wife looked at me. She goes, "Are you really taking that?" And I was like, "Well, what? I might need it." And she goes, "Well, can you not? Like, we're going for 2 weeks. Can you not just?" And I said to myself, "Do you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that for and actually I decided to take it for a month, because we were kind of on holidays, and then the kids were home. So we were kind of home holidays as well. So I just said, I'm going to take a month off everything, and I'm just going to completely try and detox. And I did that. And it was a challenge, particularly when I was sitting on a beach, as you said, and trying I must check my emails,
Yeah, exactly. That's like a habit. Yes. But, also for these next 10 years, I want to learn new things. I would like to, maybe, because I already have a site, develop some residential. That can be something new. I started to learn Greek. It's been going, the bases are fine, but still I can't talk. So that's maybe I will break in and start talking Greek. It's not the easiest language, I have to say. And yes, and exploring maybe some other qualifications. So I'm looking forward, definitely.
Well, yeah, as you said, just having, a more balanced lifestyle, keep the business, growing, keep it moving, But also, as I said, trying to find more time to enjoy for yourself and
Absolutely,
maybe
yeah.
get to those places that you haven't been to on your list yet.
Yeah, my older daughter is off to college already, so we have only one son left in the house, and then he's completely independent too. So sometimes I feel like I can do more now
Yeah,
than
probably.
I was. Yes, that's why Aspen is still on, and some other things as well.
Yeah. Well, I can assume you definitely don't want Otis using his retirement time to help you in Aspen.
No.
It's I remember somebody was on this podcast a couple of months ago, and they were telling me about the kind of husband and wife dynamic in the business, and said, well, we tried it for a while, but it just didn't work. It's like,
no.
Makes perfect sense. Listen, Tatiana, thank you so much for this. This has been a really, really great
Thank you, Mark. It was my pleasure.
And it's great to see you, because you've been around for so long, but you're a little bit of an elusive figure as well. You're not.
True.
You don't see your face on LinkedIn every week. Or
no, I'm not good at placing. However, I should. Yes.
So I think there'll be a lot of people who'll be very interested to hear your thoughts today, because, as I said, you're not a very public figure, but you're a very well-known figure and a very respected figure in the real estate world, and I'm glad we had this opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
I hope to catch up soon.
Thanks.